I want you to think about the word really and think about a situation like when would I need to say a word like really? And when would I need to say a word like really? I know, for instance, like if someone were to tell me, like, hey, Jeff, like we just won this massive trip, it's a 3 night, 4 day, trip to Disney World, everything's paid for. And if I'm excited about it, I might be like, really? Because that will help me show my excitement, right? Versus someone says, maybe the same situation, but what if I don't believe them and I'm a little skeptical? I might be like, hmm, really? Well, what this demonstrates is that more than pronunciation, what kind of determines the things that we are going to say has to deal with what we are intending to convey. What is the motivation behind the words that we're using? And this is, in a lot of ways, much greater influence on what we say than and how we say things than our pronunciation, than our accent. And so today we're going to just kind of talk a little bit about this aspect of language and speech called motivation that I want to get into that can completely change how you approach, how you communicate with others. Good morning, guys. Good evening. Good afternoon. Welcome to your daily American English pronunciation show, which is Wake Up American. We are here Monday through Friday, typically right around these hours between 7 to 8 a.m. New York, to make sure that you can get in your 5 to 10 minutes of pronunciation practice for today, because that's what it takes if you're serious about trying to make significant change in the way you talk. And to guide you in this process, there is me. Hello, my name is Jeff. It rhymes with breath. That's one of the 4 keys to a natural sound in American English, including placement, pitch, breath, trying to weaken your consonant sounds in order to strengthen your vowel sounds. We're joined this morning by Gaida. Great to see you. Thanks for being here. And also, Oliver is hanging with us as well. And today we're going to be working with a text again, because I think texts are really great, helpful sources for practicing speech, ironically, if you can do it right. You have to be careful with text sources. But I want to show you some strategies to consider when that happens. So we're going to be taking a look at a haiku. This is haiku by a poet named Basho out of Japan. Um, and so we're just going to kind of go line by line and talk a little bit about how we want to say these, why we want to say it the way we want to say it. Okay, so our first line here is, so people growing old. Okay, and I want you to just kind of think about, what do you think is the motivation for you saying it? Why would you tell this to someone? What's your motivation? What's kind of lying behind the words here? I think a lot of times when people think of aging, there often is like a negative association, or an association with pain or sadness, or even just like kind of wanting time to kind of like slow down a little bit. So if I'm trying, if I'm thinking about all those things and I'm trying to convey all those things, my motivation may be that I'm trying to express to the person I'm talking to that I have negative associations with this. I want to convey some of that sadness or frustration. So, how can I convey that? Well, some things I may try doing, for instance, is I may try, if I'm trying to convey a lot of these negative emotions, one of the things that happens a lot is we see a lot of lower pitches. We might see a lot of like sighs, or like breaths, so just like kind of just like resignation. So lower pitches, breath, I might slow down a little bit, kind of conveying low energy. So all those things, but the purpose, the motivation of trying to convey how I feel about it and those negative emotions that I may have. So I might be like, people growing older, or people growing old. Okay. Versus, if you think back to high school when you were just reading texts out loud or whatever, you may just see like, people growing old, not very flat, very neutral, but nothing's really neutral. Everything kind of has some emotional component to it. Okay. So that first part, I may do low like that. What happens for the next part? If I'm thinking about my motivations, eh. Oh no, it's stuck. I might have to reload. There it is. So, let me make it a little bigger for you guys. So that first part, people growing old. And then we get this next line. The youth of Ibisu. So what this does to me is if I've attached a lot of the heaviness and the weight to that first part, I went low pitch, slow down, um, things like that, a lot of breath. What I might do is if I want to convey positive associations with youth, what can I do? Well, maybe I'll do some of the opposite. Maybe I'll use a lot of higher pitches. Maybe in terms of my body language, we want to think about our body when we talk in our pronunciation too. Okay. Um, when we're thinking about those things, then we may want to use some higher pitches. We want to convey a lot more energy and things like that. I see some questions coming in. I appreciate you guys. Guida, if I have a moment, I'll try to address that question. Oliver also asks, is this live going to stay a live section? Yep. These Wake Up American streams stay live on the channel. Okay. Thank you for asking. Okay. So if I want to convey all those positive associations I have, then what I may do for that next part is I might go higher in pitch, right? Like the youth of Ibisu. So notice the contrast. My motivation for the first part is I want to convey heaviness. The second part, I want to convey lightness. Okay. People growing old. The youth of Ibisu. See that pitch change? And also how the speed kind of picks up a little bit. People growing old. The youth of Ibisu. Okay, so just kind of notice those little changes. The motivation behind what we say impacts how we say it. We haven't talked anything about pronunciation, but these already are conveying a lot more things. It's not just about, what are you doing with your tongue and stuff. So let's look at our last line. We return back to the heaviness, makes them even older. So I'm going to return back to a lot of the things, a lot of the motivations for what I said in that first section, right? And in fact, now it feels even heavier. Okay, because we get that makes them even. That even's doing a lot of work there, right? Okay. So I may want that to stand out. Okay. So I might say that last line is something like makes them even older. So notice that I just kind of went drop, drop, drop. Okay. Versus, again, if you're not thinking about motivation, if you're not thinking about what you're trying to convey, and the reason why you're trying to convey it, you might just say, people growing old, the youth of Ibisu makes them even older. That's very flat. Versus people growing old. The youth of Ibisu makes them even older. Very different feel. Very different feel in terms of what your listener is going to take from that. Okay. And it doesn't matter if necessarily if you're doing this with an accent or things like that. This becomes a much more evocative experience for your listener. Okay, even you might be mispronouncing things and things like that, but this becomes a moment with you and your listener that sticks with them much more powerfully, no matter what your accent is. So these are some things we really want to be thinking about. What is the motivation behind the words that you're saying? I want to very quickly address Guy's question. Can I pronounce the word law using the same vowel sound in the word father? The short answer is it's possible. You can use an ah sounds like la or father. That's basically called there's a thing called a caught merger. There's also a Great Midwestern vowel shift, which kind of links those two vowels for some people. Now, other people, for instance, where I'm from, I'm originally from Philadelphia, I wouldn't say father, I would say more father, father. So, I'm not usually a father person. Or it's gonna be law. A lot of times, you see law, saw versus la, sa, and things like that. So that aw sound. I'll put it like this. I don't usually teach the aw sound much because there's no sound where if you use an ah sound or an aw sound, people get confused. Okay, so there's other way more high priority sounds to be paying attention to. Okay. All right, with that, guys, I do have to run. I do want to say if you found this helpful in terms of this text analysis, on Wednesdays, we're doing a group class that you can sign up for. There's 5 students maximum allowed per screen, and we spend an hour, 11 a.m. New York to about 12:15, 12:30 p.m. New York, just practicing exercises like this: motivation, pitch changes, speed, stressing. How do we sound more natural when we talk? If that sounds like something you're interested in and you enjoyed what we did today, that might be something that you would like to do as well. We have a registration link in the video description. I'll also put it in the comments afterwards. Thanks for hanging out with me. Look, there's a lot of pronunciation resources out there, so the fact that you are here is greatly appreciated. I'll see you guys later. Hope you guys have a good day. Have a good night and a good afternoon.